Alright guys, quick recap on the bare bone pistol. There's not too much to go over here because, the constraints of the size of everything really determined how it was built. And, I haven't thought of a better way to do it. But yeah, I ended up installing those 12.9 grade bolts in the rear cap, and I just literally chopped the heads off because the only thing that was in the shear plane was the threaded section. So there's four of those, and I just took the heads off so I could get the grip on and off. But the strength of it is still the same. I ended up filling it to 3,000 for its little hydro test. And really, with the limited hammer energy, it turns out the ideal range, for shooting is about 1900 down to 1000. And that's where I got the higher chrono numbers. When I was up in the 2000s, there just wasn't enough hammer energy. I mean, it would open the valve, but it would just be it would be nothing. There'd be no energy behind it, not even enough to expel the pellet from the barrel. So in that 1 to 2000 range or 1 to 1900 range, it seems to work well. And it gets a ton of shots. I probably get like 30 shots between 1900 and 1000. What else? Yeah, so the constraint was really the size of the block. The way it all worked out, though, I'm actually pretty happy with it. And I do kind of like the idea of having like a main block and then, having other things external. I don't know why I like that idea, but I don't know. I guess it gives it a certain look, and someone described that look as like like a video game type gun. Like someone mentioned Fallout, which I don't play video games, but I looked it up. They mentioned the Fallout pipe gun, and I could see how it would resemble something like that. But anyway, during the build, I was talking about the weight of it, and so I only have this like grain gram scale here, but we can get a pretty good reading. I'm set to grams right now. Come on, balance. Oh, so close. Let me see if I can do it this way. So 456 is a pound. But I got it to balance earlier when I tried this. There we go. 456 is a pound, and this is at 521. So whatever that works out to, about 1.2 pounds, which isn't as light as, it could have been, but if I remove the shroud and stuff like that, I could probably get it well below a pound. And that's not too bad considering, stock 2240 is somewhere closer to 2 pounds. What else is there to cover here? Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in the sense that this, like the Mark 1 and 2, the old Crossmans, is that you really don't need a complex sear system because the hammer is firing backwards. So while the valve is facing the wrong direction, the transfer port just goes up. That's basically it. In a conventional valve, the transfer port fires up, and in this backwards valve configuration, it fires up as well. The only difference is the hammer's firing backwards, and it makes your trigger far simpler. So this, it's just a basic L bracket, and the top of that L catches the hammer, and that's basically it. Someone in the comments also mentioned, the possibility of making something like this with, regular hand tools and a drill press. And could it be done? That's an interesting question. I wouldn't want to try it because you still have to consider whether or not, even if you could make all, the basic parts and the block and stuff, it's like you still got to consider O-ring grooves and different seals and making a poppet and, turning down the barrel, making it fit the block. You got to drill transfer ports. You got to do a lead in on the barrel, which requires, you know, a taper, and I don't know. I would love to see it done. I think it'd be extremely time consuming to build any air gun with basic, you know, hand tools and a drill press. Trying to think how I would go about that. I don't even know. I'd probably do something like a spool valve, like my little, you know, the little pocket shooters or something. Maybe that would be easier. I don't know. I'd have to really think about it, all the procedures involved. What else about this gun? I mean, it's so rudimentary and simple that there's just not a lot to discuss. The trigger engagement, yeah, well, not yeah, the trigger engagement is not adjustable, but the force on the trigger is adjustable because you have one primary spring going vertically right here, pressing on that L, and right now it's probably set to about, I don't know, it probably takes about 2 or 3 pounds, but I'm overextending. In other words, when the hammer's actually engaged, the travel of the L, it's about a millimeter. So you're at the most elongated point of that spring, and it's lighter than that. It's probably about 1 pound to crack the trigger. But if I pull it back far, I mean, it gets heavy quick because of the spring. Then again, I could back off this spring and reduce the effort substantially. So I probably could get the trigger tuned, you know, to below 1 pound. One thing I never did, which I should have, was mount sights to it. I have no idea why. I thought about it. You know, just a simple, you know, slot sight up there, just a block of aluminum with a slot in it, and just a pin sight up here, like a 2mm dowel or whatever, pressed into the top of the muzzle brake, and that would have worked perfectly fine. I might still do that in my spare time. We got 2 builds coming up. They're both off-the-shelf guns that are going to be modified. One is the V-Locks that I previously mentioned, and the other one is really going to confuse people, but I won't mention it because I think it's coming tomorrow from Amazon, and I'm going to try to take a very basic gun and see how far we can push the limits of velocity. I'm hoping to get, you know, into the well above supersonic, you know, basically penetration tests with like PBA ammo at 1500 psi or maybe even higher. I'm thinking a little bit higher than that. My goal is Mach 1.5, which is something like 1630 FPS, and I think we'll be able to do it. Especially with lightweight pellets, so we'll see, and I'll talk about more of that tomorrow. What else? I guess that's it. I just figured I'd do a long form video on this because I've done it on all the other, you know, big bores and medium bores and everything else, you know, like a wrap-up video, but those were far more complicated, and you know, there was a lot more design critique and how things could, you know, they had side levers and all this other stuff. This, I mean, literally has, you know, just a metal bar at the back that stops the bolt from falling out. I mean, it's about as simple as you can get as far as air guns. If I think of something simpler, believe me, I'd build it. Because I always thought it'd be cool if people, like I was talking about the hand tools and stuff, I always thought it'd be cool if people could, you know, build their own air guns from scratch, you know, in a regular setting with a drill press and everything else. If I could think of like the simplest design possible, I would definitely build it. So far, this is the simplest design I could think of because there's no planning of the trigger mechanism. It's just an L. What else? You know, the hammer system's super simple, and all you got to do is cut off a chunk of drill bit, and there's your hammer. The bolt is taken from a Crossman 2240, so, or 1322. They're a dime a dozen. Yeah, this is about as simple as, and the tank is a, you know, it's a CO2, you know, soda fountain refill. But if I think of something else, you know, I'll definitely build it. Anyway, more to come tomorrow. Thanks for watching.